Okay, so I'm going to do a lecture that I gave for the Republic Realm, and it kind of assumes that you know some stuff about NFTs, but I'm going to back up and cover some of that area too. But I'm just going to start with, you already know who I am, so we don't need to worry about that. Okay, I'm going to start with this image here. So the internet was meant to share information. And the way that that was done was to make a copy of the information in order to share it. So this was great for consumers, but it was terrible for the creators of the information. Blockchain was the technology, starting with Bitcoin, that allowed financial data to be sent but not copied, so that I could send Shrishti $1 and I wouldn't still have the dollar, only she would have the dollar, but it's digital data. So that same blockchain technology is now being applied to information or data other than money. And that's what's revolutionizing the value of information, since the creator can choose when and how and if what they create can be copied. So when I say information, what I mean is anything that is digital. And how are things that are digital stored? As files. So almost everything that you do online results in a file of some sort. So a .jpeg, a .wav file, a .doc file, a .html file, a .js file, a .3ds file, a .xml file. So that's digital information. But information should be thought of as labor, because it took someone time to create that file, time and energy and knowledge. So information is either someone's labor or someone's personal data. So right now we're seeing an explosion in NFTs and art and artists, mostly around the .jpeg, and then also maybe around a few other 3D files, etc. But that's because artists were some of the worst victims of the internet being a giant copying machine. So they were the first to start celebrating this new technology. Also, artists typically go into places and concepts and make them cool and acceptable, and then the rest of the people follow. So I just want to give you all sort of an overview. And this image to me is funny because you can't make a copy of something as simple as a piece of bread. And a piece of bread is not very valuable, but it's still something that you don't steal from someone. It still took somebody labor to make the bread, package the bread, get it to a store, then get it to someone's house. So what I want you to just sort of think about is digital money is cryptocurrency. So you all probably have at least a grasp of that, which is it's basically money that's only stored as data that's encrypted. Blockchains are just ledgers of transactions. And I'm going to do a little demo with that in just a second on what a blockchain is, but it's basically just a giant database or spreadsheet, or what they call a ledger, which is just like Elizabeth gave Shrishti $1 for a piece of bread, okay? And that's written in the ledger. And then everybody in this class will also write that down and verify that that's true. So that's what a ledger is. That's what a blockchain is, basically. That's essentially what it is. And then an NFT is basically digital goods. Anything that is not digital money is fungible, meaning a $1 can be exchanged for another dollar, but one image or one painting or one music file cannot be exchanged for another. That means it's non-fungible. I mean, it has something unique about it. So only things like tokens and dollars and cryptocurrencies, things that are used only for their value, their monetary value or their symbolic value, are fungible. So that's kind of the cryptocurrency. And then the non-fungible is the NFT. And what I want you to start thinking about is that right now we're seeing mostly art encrypted and wrapped as NFTs, but you'll start to see pretty much everything that's digital wrapped like that. That's why you hear things like, well, like, all sorts of credentialing is encrypted so that it can't be copied and that it can be verified. Okay, so let's keep going. Yes, so it's basically putting encryption and origination of creation and time-stamped data on a file that lives with it in perpetuity. Okay, but for this, while we're going through this, there's cryptocurrency, and I don't want you to get, some of you know a lot about it because you're in fintech, others of you know very little about it. The most important thing is don't make it too complicated yet. Just mostly think of it as, digital currency, cryptocurrency, a public ledger where you can see where transactions happen, and then digital goods. So digital goods is what everybody's kind of laughing about and trying to understand why people have copies of, apes and all that sort of thing. But always when you hear people talking about metaverses and Web3, Web3 is really about decentralization, but metaverses, let's just talk about metaverse for a second. Everything in the real world will be recreated in the virtual world. And we're starting to see that happen. And let's kind of go through that a little bit. I'm going to start with a little analogy from the real to the virtual. Yes. And not everything is better in the real world than in the virtual world. And not everything is better in the virtual world than in the real world. The trick is understanding which is better and how to combine them to enhance the other. So yeah, 60% of Gen Z and 62% of millennials think that how you present yourself online is more important than how you present yourself in person. So this is a little bit of an age thing. If any of you all have, if you're very young or if you have young children, you recognize that they spend a lot more time in virtual worlds, game worlds, online worlds. And that's why you see people taking selfies and they don't care what they look like in the real world because they care more about what the end result is going to be in the virtual world. And I'm using virtual worlds very casually, like, LinkedIn, Instagram. Those are just 2D, virtual worlds, but we're moving into a 3D, making those more enhanced in 3D spaces. So I'm going to do an anatomy of a speaker. My son went to college this year, and I asked him to, pack for college. And the first suitcase he came down with was this entire suitcase filled with shoes. And he does not need all of, shoes are a utility, right? We use shoes to protect our feet, but we don't really need this many shoes, okay? And I guarantee that all of you have at least this many pairs of shoes, probably a lot more. And it's not because the soles have worn out that you have multiple pairs of shoes. It's because you want to look good You want to symbol to other people what you care and value. You want to show what you think and what's on the inside by the outside. So while this is funny, I don't think that any of us are beyond this. One of the first digital sneakers was made by Fewocious, and he used his own art and he made these samples of sneakers. But they were never going to be real world sneakers. He just thought, well, people are making avatars, so why don't their avatars need, fashion and shoes? Well, Gucci is now fully into this, and they make shoes that you cannot ever wear, but your avatar can. It's called direct to avatar consumerism. This is an example of an avatar. This is my friend Kadeen James. And I don't know if any of you all paid attention to the Metaverse Fashion Week that just happened this past week, but every name brand was there. And she creates amazing clothing. This was sort of early. This is something that probably, you could have this in the real world, but now the fashions that people are demonstrating in virtual worlds are things like you could have where it's a whole, a hat that's made of snakes that are slithering around, because it's the virtual world. You can do anything. So those are the kinds of things, like what is better in the virtual world? You can definitely be pretty imaginative in the virtual world. Because physics doesn't apply. Now, Ready Player Me, one of the largest avatar creation tools, that now you can get your avatars and you can put artifact, RTFKT, NFT sneakers on your avatar. And Nike bought them earlier, actually last year. So they recognized this is happening. So I think that's really helpful. Oh yeah, and now there's also something that's also really important and really interesting, which is how do you connect the physical and the digital? So, so some people use the term phygital, which is a physical and a digital. You can think about this when you think about like a painting, a very valuable painting that you want also tracked on the blockchain. So you have a painting and maybe you have a certificate of ownership, but how do you truly connect those two so that they always remain connected? Because you're not sending the physical through the blockchain, you're just sending the certificate of ownership. So people are doing all kinds of things like, an encrypted code that can only be opened by the NFT. To verify that the sneaker is the actual sneaker, or the painting is the actual painting that goes with that NFT. So there's a lot of experimentation in that space, and trying to connect the physical to the digital. Again, think about home ownership and selling a house deed through the blockchain, but guaranteeing that it's the actual house. It's a little easier because we have geolocation, but yeah, so with each thing, it's different. So yeah, something to think about is, so really we're mostly here just talking kind of about the penny and the pixel. Well, we're talking about the penny and the pixel and the atom. The pixel is what something digital is made of. The atom is what something physical is made of. The penny is how we value that. And the second is our time and labor. So you can break these things down when you're thinking about stuff and you're comparing the real world and the virtual world. Think about sort of how these connect in the different instances that you see them. So there's a lot of frameworks. I'm not going to go into this. Just there's a lot of people trying to understand what I'm talking about. It's not a complete, there's not a science. We're building it as we go. It's okay to be confused and not really understand what's going on. It's because we're having a total mind, shift happening. So yeah, I'm just showing you a few examples of frameworks that people are trying to kind of understand the shift that's happening. Yeah, so Web 3.0, I'm not going to completely go into all of this, but value exchange instead of information exchange. And it feels strange that, you would send someone, I don't know, a photo of, of yourself, maybe a headshot, and connect a value to it. But if you see your headshot on, I don't know, some diversity and inclusion kind of, website that you didn't authorize, then you do want to track that down. Or if somebody, wants to, I don't know, deface your image, or make fun of it, then, you can track that down. So, and self-sovereignty is where you own the rights to that, not the platform that you go to. Web 2.0 is the platforms like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Spotify. When you put your data on there, they own the data. They can remove all of it. They can ban you. They're the ones that keep you in or out. You have to log in to get in. So when you think about a wallet, like your own wallet where you usually keep money, now there's crypto wallets where you keep money, but that's where it is anticipated that in the Web3 decentralized world, you will keep your data in a wallet as well. And you will identify yourself with your wallet ID and let people know which of the data they can have access to. But that way, no one can ever take away your data, whether it's your NFTs or your digital sneakers or your health records. Yeah, so it's granting you access to applications. You will own your own identity and choose which applications to interact with. Yeah, storing things in your digital wallet. Okay. I think that you all, I've already done, let me just stop here for 1 second. Okay. Any questions up to this point? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna, no questions? Okay.
I have one, I think. What are the conversations around how the platforms are the platform businesses themselves are gonna deal with this transition between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0?
Yeah, great question. Of course, we saw Meta, come out, Facebook come out and say that they're Meta. And I think that the trend is so heavy in decentralization that, but here it's yet to be seen. Liz, I think that's kind of what's happening right now. But right now, we're seeing people very curious and very interested in these decentralized finances and these decentralized creation platforms, and selling their artwork as NFTs as opposed to work for hire. But it depends on what sort of the consumer demands. And I think that if, the anticipation is that this will, you know, this trend will continue, this decentralized trend will continue, and that the larger players will ultimately have to move more to a Web 3.0 mentality, but that's yet to be seen. And of course, Facebook has played to that and said that they're going to be decentralized. But again, it's yet to be seen. And yeah, well, and I think it's also, it actually plays to another thing. If you all know much about sort of decentralized finance, there's permissionless, like completely network owned blockchains that there's no centralized authority whatsoever. Bitcoin would be one of those. Ethereum is pretty decentralized, but it does have sort of a governing organization. Solana has even more of a governing kind of centralized organization. But I think that we're going to sort of start to try to understand. I mean, you know, if you've ever had any kind of cryptocurrency and lost it, it really sucks, because if you lose your password, you lose all of your money. Because that's what self-sovereignty is, meaning I own my own data, I keep track of my own data. It's a pain in the butt. And if you know, and you can make some really bad mistakes, and there is no they to go to. There is no they, it is you. And we're starting to realize that that's sometimes not great. So just as I show this picture of, there's a striation between IRL, in real life, to totally virtual. Like right here, this is what I call sort of 2.5, 2D, you know? So we're not in real life, but we're not like a virtual world where we're 3D space running around. So this is sort of in between. And I think that the same thing could be said for totally decentralized to totally centralized. There'll be in-betweens, and trying to make sure you understand what the advantages are and the different spaces that you know, choices that companies make. Yeah, DeFord. Oh, you want me to read? Okay. What will allow the bridge between the two worlds better, and we are able to stay? What age this transition should be introduced? What age child? I mean, for instance, driver's license permits at 16. This is powerful stuff we are dealing with, and every day it feels like we're introducing very complex and invasive technology to younger and younger audience. At what point do we say we have found that development at X age? You know, this is, I think that this is a great question. It's in the chat if you want to read it. I mean, this is where authentic research really comes into play. But what's really interesting to me is my son, like I just said, is, you know, just went off to college. I remember it was just a constant battle when he was young. You know, what can he look at? How much screen time? You know, is he mimicking us because we're looking at our screens? And so he's doing that. And I thought, oh, surely we'll stop like letting children look at, you know, these devices. No, it's become more. And we look at devices more. You know, nowadays, it used to be if you went to a meeting and you had your phone, that was kind of rude. Now everybody has their phone. They have their watch, their Apple Watches. We're all deeper into these virtual worlds, and there's a reason for that. You know, this is something that I like to say. I mean, there's a reason we're doing that. We are compelled. And some people say, well, against our better, you know, what's better for us. True. We're compelled to eat too. We have to not eat too much, but we have to eat, right? And we are very compelled to be online and connect with people online and enhance our reality with virtual reality. So it's something that we are going towards. I'll throw it. It's even, this is also controversial, but we're starting to see this with the mental health issues, that people who drink and do drugs which is most of us to some level or another, that's for mental health. So people are doing that for a reason. So we shouldn't, so trying to just say it's bad is not the right thing, but like to DeFord's point, trying to say, how should we help regulate, monitor, check in to see what's healthy and what's not healthy, is where the rub is. So yeah, a meme permit, dark meme permit, true. I mean, we're in a very, radical shift right now. And all the questions that you have, which I'm sure you have many because everybody does, is that are super, they're real questions and most people haven't figured the answers out. Okay, other questions? Okay, oops. Let me go back to this. All right. Sorry, I keep hitting share. Okay, whoops, let's get this. Yeah, so this is the continuum that I was talking about. Like there's the real world, and then there's, informed reality, which is just like, I don't know, a little bit of a text overlay or like a Yelp kind of thing. Then there's augmented reality, and it gets more, the more you can, again, tie the augmentation to reality, like, when Pokemons actually understand that there's a floor or that there's a table, that's when the augmented reality gets more connected to reality, all the way to totally virtual reality where you're totally isolated. And what's interesting is, virtual reality with things like Oculus Quest and HTC Vive and Sony's headset, people thought this was going to be great for, doing all kinds of entertainment, which is true. But really, when you're in a fully immersed environment like this, it's actually better for like focus, deep focus, because most of us are multitasking in, like, you all are watching my presentation right now, but you're probably got emails pulled up and a chat going on and maybe other people in the room. So we're used to kind of, doing a lot of different things at the same time. When you're in virtual reality, you are only doing one thing. And so it's really good for meditation. It's good for like brain training or any kind of deep training. And, so it's interesting because I think that it took us a while to figure that out. Now there are other people in the games, but still you're only playing a game or only wandering around with other people in full VR, although full VR might ultimately become more similar to our more distracted real environments. Let's see. You all already saw this. Did you already see my the VR, AR, MR, XR?
I can't see your screen if you're sharing it.
Oh, okay, right. Were you able to see this? Okay, hold on. Let me share it again.
So I saw the presentation before you took the break to stop to clarify.
Oh, okay.
And after that, I hadn't seen it.
Sorry. Oh, this is what I was showing. Can y'all see that? Are y'all seeing that?
No,
No. Okay.
not yet.
What? Hold on. There. Okay. Now you can see this. Okay, sorry. This is what I was talking about. So I was talking about the real world all the way to the virtual world, and that it's sort of so right now we're I don't know. I don't even know where I would say that we are right now. we're somewhere in here that we're not, this is not a computer generated world, but we certainly aren't in the real world. I call what we're doing kind of like 2D or 2.5D. You know, we're not full 3D because we only have an X and a Y. We don't have a Z. So yeah, this is the thing I was also talking about. You could also do a same kind of continuum of centralization to decentralization. So yeah, what I was asking is, did you all see some of this footage?
Yes.
You saw these, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so you already kind of know this stuff. These are the different kinds of augmented and virtual realities. But what's interesting is, just for better or for worse, look around your house, look at all the things that you own. Some of them are very small and not really considered worth a whole lot. Some are very useful, some aren't very useful, some are decorative. That's what we're doing in the virtual world now too. So, yeah, like collecting Pokemons, you know, and that's really just a straight up game. You don't actually collect them. However, if they had those as NFTs, went back in the day when everybody was running around playing Pokemon, I think that people would be collecting them because you did all that gaming and you only received points that are only points for Niantic, the company that made it. You don't have any kind of point system that you get to retain and then trade in. Think of tokenized ecosystems as something as simple as Delta Sky Miles. You know, Delta Sky Miles that you collect from a certain kind of behavior can be incredibly valuable. And you can trade them, you know, you can trade them out of that system, but that's kind of like a permissioned blockchain in a certain way is what is a Delta Sky Mile or any kind of tokenized ecosystem. The thing is if Delta, you know, if you had collected thousands and millions of Delta Sky Mile points and then Delta went under, that's all gone. So that's the difference between a centralized and a decentralized tokenized ecosystem. Oh yeah. All right. So, oh yeah. Well, so this is more. Some people want to know, how are these virtual worlds made, and how are these virtual things made? You know, just like brick and mortar or 3D printing in real worlds, software. And these are some of the most popular softwares that people use to sculpt 3D things, to make virtual houses, to make avatars. They do it with software. And so for the class that I was teaching there, they wanted to know about that. Yeah, y'all have already seen some of this stuff. Yeah, and this is 2D virtual world creation, you know, because these are made for movies, but now we're doing this kind of same thing with 3D. Again, important thing, this is rigging. This is someone's move. And I have bought NFTs of someone's motion. So the way someone dances that can then be applied to an avatar is a sellable thing in the metaverse, because you can take your avatar and have it do some super cool dance, and you know, you know, somebody might give it to you, but a lot of people want to monetize it. So rigging is basically this, where you tie the joints, and the more high fidelity the rigging is, you know, the more it can bend your fingers and your neck in all these different ways, the higher quality it is. And so these are things that make up the virtual worlds and that are sellable. This is, again, motion capture, where you get the rigging. You've all seen this kind of stuff probably, and how things were made. This has the term skinning, which is an unfortunate term, but it basically means when people, so there's a huge market for fashion right now, just massive. And so if you've made your avatar tall, skinny, fat, wide, long, whatever, the way that you use the softwares that I was showing you, it expands to fit the avatar, no matter what, if it's a good model. Digital twins, this is happening, the digital twinning was more of a manufacturing kind of thing, where you make a digital twin. This was, before even 3D printing and things came along. But you would use, milling and all kinds of manufacturing to make sure that you made all the right parts. But now you can have a digital twin in the metaverse, and you can make simulated environments and simulations of things in virtual worlds before they become real worlds is really a huge area of excitement and interest. Like, the way I liken it is like, think about if you had all the data analysis of a traffic patterns in a neighborhood. So people could look at the data and they would be like, oh yeah, we're analyzing the data and we're seeing these numbers here and these numbers there. But then you can go to a world creator and they will play out all of those scenarios visually in 3D so that you can really see what's happening and see. And so because it's one thing, it's, sometimes good to just look at the raw data, because then you're not influenced by the visuals, but sometimes you need to see the visuals too. So this digital twinning in order to do simulations is a really fascinating area. This is Matterport, a very hot tech stock right now, because it can basically scan, basically we're scanning everything and recreating everything in virtual worlds. This does spaces, but there's also scanners that can scan, smaller objects, like, I don't know, scan this. So instead of having to like render this and draw it all out, you can scan it and copy it perfectly in a 3D printer. This is the volumetric capture, which is what we have at Georgia State University. This is where you capture full resolution 3D performances in cinematic reality. And this is really good for doing doing real performances where you where a person does, say Travis Scott does a performance, and you can see it in a virtual world or a hologram. Here's an example if you want to see. This was done actually at Georgia State. It's probably not going to play the audio, which is here. Let me see if I can play the audio real quick, just because here we go.
Yo, man, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back to the metaverse. We'll see y'all later. It's been fun out here. It's been real. We had a lot of fun together all these years, but time for me to go back to where I came from, baby. The digital world. First Tron.
Wamila, it's your girl Kaylin Castle, and today I'm shooting my virtual performance for the Metaverse. Today I'm performing Sunset Sock. It's super dope, super different. So this is my first time, and probably you guys' first time too, seeing a performance in the Metaverse. It's super dope. There's a whole team. This is my first time working with so many people at one time, just to control, like, I think it's like maybe 30 cameras, and I stand in the middle of the green room. It's gonna be my performance, so, dope shit coming.
Actually, you don't get to see the, let me show you what that looks like, because I think this is gonna be something that might blow your minds a little bit. let's take her because she's good.
Hey, yo, what's up, y'all?
Hey,
It's
look at
Jasmine,
this.
aka
I
Jasmine
can,
the Rapper.
this is, you're
We are here
taking
at
video and you can
CMI
move
with
and
Wild
see
Capture,
the
getting
whole
ready for
video
this
from
virtual
any
concert.
perspective.
Are y'all ready?
I'm moving this. I'm doing
All
this
right,
right
so
now.
with that being
I can go
said,
look how close I can look at her. Look at
yeah.
the fidelity of the hands. So that's what volumetric capture is. So the ability to capture someone's completely fully 3D performance is a new technology that I don't know, just you can start to think about different ways to do things. Let's get back to this. All right. Oh yeah, of course. I didn't realize I had that in there. Yeah, and then who owns your likeness? And then people are renting out their avatars to do things for them while they're actually doing other things. So talk about multitasking, especially if you're famous. You could have like all of you could have it where your voice and your movements are rented out for the day or something to like maybe be an announcer in a digital environment of some sort. But you don't have to be there. So yeah, the important thing is that in the real world, we have to deal with physics and we deal with a lot of reality, but in the virtual world, physics doesn't apply. And there's a lot of cool things that you can do that are fun and interesting. And you know, what can be done is yet to be seen. Y'all probably already seen MetaHuman. I think I showed you MetaHuman, where the people look
outright quality that you'd expect in a
that person does not exist. That's how high quality this is just starting from using this software, and you can make people
AAA game for a digital human, making sure that anyone can use this tool, that anyone can create a character in minutes or hours that used to take weeks and months. And all of that has to work at that fidelity with rigged and ready to animate in engine.
Yeah, and you can change their face. That person wasn't even taken from a real person. It was an AI that combined people. So yeah, digital labor creates digital goods. That's an important thing to think about. So the answers are unknown at the moment. Let me see what the questions are. Oh yeah, okay. Let's see, confirm. Let's see what I see.
What software were you using to create those realistic people?
Oh, this right here is this
Yep.
is Unreal Engine. It's free.
Wow.
It's free, and so MetaHuman is the plugin that you use for Unreal. And the great thing is, so these virtual environments, like when you play 3D games, almost all of them were made either in Unity or Unreal. These are virtual world creation tools that make interactive virtual worlds. It's what we teach over at the Creative Media Industries Institute. But it's free. All of those softwares are free. Now, if you create something that you sell, then you have to get a license for it. But to play around, it's totally free. It does require some, heavy computing. So you can't put it on your iPad or something like that.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just go back. Cryptocurrencies are digital money. NFTs are digital goods. Blockchains are public ledgers of transactions. That's if you just keep that in your mind, don't let it get too complicated. You can start to kind of make analogies and learn a lot of this and start thinking deeper and deeper about it. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, so I'm not going to go into this stuff. Yeah, so yeah, please ask me questions. I see that I see that DeFord has written a lot. Let me see. Yeah, what is the scalability? So it's interesting. What is the scalability of this technology? That's what was so interesting about the hackathon that I was at, the virtual, it's called extreme reality, meaning it's any kind of augmented, virtual, mixed reality. But there are people like, so the fancy volumetric capture studio that I was showing you, where I showed the woman dancing afterwards, that is expensive technology, but it's at a university where a lot of students have access to it. To buy that on your own would be very expensive, but people are making hacked versions of that, like DIY versions that, like, they're using the Azure Connect, like Microsoft Connect cameras that will read your motion. And if you get people take about 8 of those and put them in a circle, and can make not nearly as high quality as that, but pretty close. So there's recombining all of this stuff. There's a lot of opportunity in these spaces for that kind of thing. Yeah. How do we prevent deep fakes? Again, this is all to be seen. But I do think that the way that how do we prevent deep fakes? The way that we have a blue check mark on a Twitter, again, going back to, I'm Elizabeth Strickler. This is my Twitter. What I say, I stand by. If I say something great, I want credit for it. If I say something offensive, I get, I can't remove it. I've done it. I've said it. So I think that we will ultimately have meta-humans, or humans that, you have a blue check mark. So you could always trace back, where did that data begin, or that misinformation begin? But it just depends. That's why regulation is such a big deal right now, in cryptocurrency and in AI, because some of you all are definitely studying AI, and you've already seen it becomes a huge sort of philosophical issue very quickly, so yeah. Anybody else have questions or comments? I hear somebody. No. Okay. All right. If you all don't have questions, I see that DeFord is writing a lot of things. How do we prevent, is this something that seems to be developing more heavy in the internet worlds? We've seen some worlds that hate. Yeah, some people hate this for sure. But the thing is, it's happening no matter what. But how we navigate it, how we embrace it, how we direct it, is what's important, is where the opportunities in business and nonprofits and governance and ethics really matter right now. So whatever your interest might be, even if it's to fight things that you see as being dangerous, this is the time to get in and start helping direct how things go. What's the point of identity? Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, identity is one of the biggest things being questioned right now. So there's digital identity, but then there's, your digital identity, meaning, okay, we can now verify, by DNA that I am who I am. But then, what I write, what I say, what I think. Oh, they have people who have brain, like neuro brain readers that are NFTing your thoughts. So you're like, well, I thought it before you did it, and here's proof. So everything you think turns into an NFT. It's you know, and it's like patenting your thoughts the minute that they come out. Really bizarre worlds.
That is bizarre.
Well, what about this? A guy took the entire Wikipedia and programmed it into DNA of an apple, combined it with the DNA of an apple, grew the apple till it made seeds, and is now creating like trees of knowledge where all the DNA shows the Wikipedia, you know, at the instantiation that he inserted it into the apple. So yeah, I mean, we're in a really weird world. Is that legal? You know, again, it's he's a researcher. He's an artist / researcher who works with at MIT Media Lab. So you know, he obviously talked to somebody before they did that, I guess. And Wikipedia is free access. All right. Any other comments or questions? All right. If anybody, oh, go ahead, Liz.
Well, I was just going to say this conversation has me thinking about teleportation that I haven't thought about in a while. And I'm like, is anyone even projecting a timeline for that?
I hadn't heard a lot about that. I don't know, maybe it's the recombination is just always the hard part, I think. But teleportation, like holograms, for sure, right? But
Yeah.
like reinstantiating yourself, like, and coming apart and then going somewhere else. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we're already doing it just by tapping into the brainstem, or just like, you know, virtual reality has a teleportation sort of feel to it for sure. The question is, does your body actually have to go there?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I just wanted to make sure that I'm happy to talk to anybody if you want to know more about just straight up crypto or NFTs. If you ever want to, you know, move in that direction, or if you're interested in talking about it. But for your homework, you're going to go on to the next portion of that, designing a business document. And this week, you're going to be talking about capturing value. And you all did a great job. And let's see, let me pull it up here. With your advertisements, I mean, you definitely got the point. And so now, basically what you're going to do is start thinking about, okay, if I do have this, you know, well, let's see, here's one. Let me see what's one that I can just kind of pull up. That's difficult. Fair finance consultants. What are you charging? And start thinking. I'm not asking you to necessarily say that. Yeah, I'm saying that's now the next thing to start thinking about, and start being creative with your business models. Like, you know, there's more obvious ones, like there's a subscription, or by the hour, or by the product. But, you know, what permutations, combinations of business models can you come up with? And what, you know, like, how does it feel to like tell somebody, well, this thing that I'm hoping to make, or this business, or this app, or this software, or this service, what you know, what does it seem like somebody would pay for it? Again, these are experiments, so it's much better to do this now than like when you have the business start practicing talking about money and what the value is that you're providing. And so I'm going to have you meet with a partner to just kind of talk this through with them, and then also talk about experiments that you can do to sort of test out your business a little bit more. And that's in the homework. There's a whole list of experiments. And that's what I want you to get together with your partner to do. For those of you, I think most of everybody heard the conversation that 11.2 has the list of partners. So I suggest that you direct message them now, or write them an email so that you can be in contact and start scheduling, because that's the hardest part of this whole homework, is making sure that you can meet with your partner. And if you want to, you could just hang around this evening and talk to them. Okay. Other questions?
Professor, how do we build the prototype? Like, my product is not tangible. It's an idea. It's about imparting knowledge, upgrading skills. So I'm having a hard time to separate it from advertisement. How do I differentiate it from advertisement and prototype?
So what do you, so you're about doing what now? Say it again.
Imparting knowledge on upgrading your technical skills, like learning programming skills, career advancement, basically.
How are those things usually delivered?
Through seminars, boot camps.
Seminars and boot camps are great prototypes. Do a boot camp. Do a 1 hour class. It's a great...
So I have to conduct a class, or, I mean, I'm not getting around the idea of prototype. What exactly needs to be done?
Yeah, so this is where this is exactly the question that I was looking for. Let's say that I want to start a business teaching about NFTs and cryptocurrency, right? Yeah. So I can start advertising. I can start saying, hey, it's going to be $1,000 for an hour-long class, and I'm going to do one on NFTs and one on Metaverse and one on Web3, and sign up here. Okay. Well, before I did that, I might practice teaching. I might get a group of friends and say, hey, I'll do a free class for you if you could give me some feedback. I might write a curriculum and think through that. That's so everything can be tested and prototyped, everything. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and that's actually that right there. If you just walk out of this class with just that bit of knowledge, then I've done my job, because that's the important thing, is do little things that get you closer to the big thing, without making these huge plans about, oh, I'm going to have this incredible app and it's going to teach people all these different things. Try it manually first. Try just teaching, 3 people what an NFT is. You'll learn a lot.
Got it. Thank you.
I've got a consulting in my area. So using some of the test cases, which I can give up the consulting is can be useful as a prototype, right? Some of the there is a risk management, some of the test case for risk management.
Yeah. Test cases are exactly those are exactly experiments and prototypes. So yeah, one of the things that the reason why a lot of people are starting to use the word experiment as opposed to prototype is that a lot of times people think that a prototype is something that you make in a physical, this is a prototype of a smart plug, right? And I, hacked it together with 3D printer and wiring, and that's a prototype. But in most of your examples, you're not making physical products. So an experiment would be a test class, like to Shrishti's point, or a test case, if you were going to do okay, I think that Yash is fair finance consultants. Yeah, consult with somebody and document everything that went good and didn't go good, and then that's a great test case.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, other questions? Okay, so you all make sure you direct message or email or unfortunately, it's too difficult for me to like, I haven't tied all of your, in a spreadsheet, I haven't tied all of your Discord, I should give you all Discord, but I think you can figure it out. You've got each other's email. So yeah, go and meet with your folks and let me know if you have any questions on these more esoteric topics. And we will, I'll see you next week, which we will do. I can't remember what we're doing next week. I think we're going to go through experiments.